Hi Year 3 and welcome to our new unit of English. Today I'm going to introduce you to the characters from the pictures that you looked at on your previous lesson, and the story that we're going to be starting with today is called The Man in the Moon, and it's from the Guardians of Childhood series by William Joyce. You may have heard of the film The Rise of the Guardians. There's also the Sandman that we'll be looking at in our next session, and Jack Frost, and depending on time we might have a little look at that today as well. Okay, this is my very poor drawing of a roll on the wall, which I will explain to you after we have listened to the book. So the first thing you need to do today is listen and enjoy the story of The Man in the Moon. It is a beautiful book. I'm just going to get in a little bit closer so you can see some of the pictures. So this is the moon clipper. And this is how the moon clipper starts as the moon clipper, and then eventually, if you follow it through, turns into a moon. It says the most beautiful craft of the golden age, the moon clipper's swift transformation from ship to moon. And I missed these out. There are some lunar moths there as well, and there is a picture of the family who are the characters in the book. The Man in the Moon. Of course you know the Guardians of Childhood. You've known them since before you can remember, and you'll know them till your memories are like twilight. Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, the Easter Bunny, and the others. But the very first one was the Man in the Moon. Many once upon a times ago, the Man in the Moon began his journey. It was during the Golden Age, a glorious time of hope and happiness and dreams that could come true. There is the picture of the moon, and there is the picture of the Man in the Moon. As a baby, the Man in the Moon had everything a child could need. His father showed him the wonders of the heavens through his telescope, while the Moonbot crew whistled a jolly toot-toot to every passing ship. By the light of the giant glowworms, his mother read to him from her primer of planets, as the moon mice hushed one another so they could listen too. And he had a devoted friend named Nightlight to watch over him. Together they all sailed from one peaceful planet to another in their beautiful ship, the Moon Clipper. There they are, happily in their ship, and that is Nightlight. At night, the moon clipper was designed to turn into a moon, so Nightlight called the baby the Little Man in the Moon, or Mim for short. And there's the picture of the ship transforming. Nightlight never slept, and every night he sprinkled dream sand over Mim and sang him a lullaby. Nightlight, bright light, sweet dreams I bestow. Sleep tight all night, forever I will glow. And as long as Nightlight watched over him, Mim was safe from nightmares. There he is, watching over. If I go too fast for the pictures, you can just pause it. But darkness came to the Golden Age. It came in the shifting shape of Pitch, the king of nightmares. He heard of the boy who had never had a nightmare, and this he could not abide. So he vowed to make that boy his own, a prince of nightmares. In search of Mim, Pitch sailed in his nightmare galleon on waves of fear, plundering planets, extinguishing stars and scuttling every airship that crossed his path. Mim's parents knew of the perfect place to hide, an uncharted little green and blue planet in a distant galaxy. It was called Earth, and it had no moon. The moon clipper glided in deepest silence, speeding away from Pitch's darkness. Suddenly, out of the gloom, the nightmare galleon appeared, so close Mim could see Pitch standing on the bow. "Toot toot?" asked the baby. "Where is that oh-so-innocent child who has never had a nightmare?" demanded Pitch, glaring straight at Mim. Then he signalled the attack. Mim's parents commanded Nightlight to take the baby to a hidden nursery deep in the darkest tunnels of the ship. "But first you must kneel and take this oath," they said. Their voices rang out through the smouldering smoke and flame. "Watch over our child, guide him safely from the ways of harm. Keep happy his heart, brave his soul, and rosy his cheeks. Guard with your life his hopes and dreams, for he is all that we have, all that we are, and all that we will ever be." The battle rocked the moon clipper as Nightlight rushed Mim to safety. Seeing a tear on the frightened child's cheek, he took it and held it close to his heart. Fiercely he repeated his oath. Then he felt a searing pain. When he opened his hand, the tear had changed into a brilliant diamond, sharp as a dagger. "Remember me in dreams," he whispered to Mim as he flickered away to face Pitch. The galaxies had never known such a battle. Mim's parents and their crew fought valiantly, but they were overwhelmed at last. Mim's parents were captured and all seemed lost. Nightlight knew what he must do. Whatever the cost, Mim must not become a prince of nightmares. With the diamond dagger held aloft, Nightlight flew bravely forward. He aimed the weapon at Pitch's heart. There was a blinding flash, then a great explosion. That's the blinding explosion. When all was still, Mim crawled to the surface. "Toot! Toot!" he whispered. His parents didn't answer. He looked around him. Pitch and his galleon had vanished. The beautiful hull of the moon clipper had been blasted away. It was now just a moon and would never sail again. "Toot!" he called once more, and listened again. No answer came. Finally, he looked up at the sky. He saw a group of new stars shimmering above him. He stared at them until he was sure. His mother and father were there, far away, but still there. And just going to zoom in a little bit, because there they are, in the stars. But what of the noble little Nightlight? The baby glimpsed a shooting star as bright as Dreamstand as it fell to earth. Slowly the remaining moonbots, moon mice and giant glowworms surrounded Mim. The only words he knew were "toot toot," so he said them over and over again. Gently they lifted Mim up and carried him into the tunnels of the moon. The baby looked up at the sky and waved, gazing longingly at his parents' constellation. Now he truly was Mim, the little man in the moon. Mim's new life had many comforts. Every night one of the lunar moths would circle the moon with Mim on its soft woolly back. He'd stay awake long enough to see his parents' constellation. Then he'd sleep and dream of nightlight and their gentle golden age. As time passed, the moon became a planet-sized playground for the boy. There was so little gravity that with one hop he could bounce over the tallest mountain. After a long day of adventuring, dinners were always a treat. Can you spot him? There he is, with that one hop. Lunar ice cream, comet surprise, space juice nectarine, and each meal was lit by schools of starfish that swam through the evening sky. Look at all those starfish. They look quite different to Patrick, don't they? As young Mim wandered through the moon's tunnels, he discovered the primer his mother had used to read to him. In the book was something he had completely forgotten, the little green and blue planet. He ran to his father's telescope. As he peered into it, he remembered the long-ago shooting star that had fallen to Earth. But it was not nightlight he found. "There are children on Earth! Children like me!" he cried. Years went by, and the man in the moon was no longer a little boy. His new friends on Earth were very far away, but their lost balloons often floated up to the moon. Mim found that if he held them to his ear, he could hear the hopes and dreams of the children who had lost them. He listened carefully. Soon he had a whole collection of lost balloons. Mim learned that sometimes the children needed a toy or a candy or a prize or a sweet dream or a good story to cheer them up. So Mim gazed down upon the earth, scanning mountain tops so remote they were hidden in clouds. There he found a grand toy maker to make the children's toys, a regal rabbit to make them candy eggs, and a fairy from the kingdom of Punjam Hailu to leave prizes under their pillows. He even found a sleepy little fellow on a faraway sandy island who seemed to know all there was to know about dreams. And lastly, Mim brought the children of Earth a lovely lady who would tell them stories. But for all the joy Mim brought to Earth, there was one thing he had not been able to change. The children were still afraid of the dark. Although Pitch and his nightmare men were nowhere to be seen, Mim knew that the children still had nightmares. And after all this time, he had never had one himself. Mim thought he would know everything when he grew up, but of course he did not. "This growing up is a tricky business," he said to himself. Every day he listened to the lost balloons and watched the children through his telescope and wondered if he could help them. "If only I could find a friend like Nightlight," he thought. Don't you like his suit? It's a cracking suit. And so, deep in thought and remembering his friend, Mim kicked a rock, and then another, revealing a pile of very bright sand. He stopped and stared. It reminded him of the dream sand that Nightlight had sprinkled over him when he was a baby. Mim laughed to himself and went on kicking rocks. He had had an idea. Soon the Moonbots and Moonmice were kicking rocks too. When the Moonmice were so tired that they could hardly hold up their tails, and the Moonbots were so creaky that they could barely move, Mim called upon the toy maker and the rabbit and the fairy and the others from Earth to fly up and lend a hand. And then finally, when everyone was too tired even to complain, the man in the moon smiled and summoned the lunar moths. The bright sand had made the moon 100 times brighter. Now the children of Earth will see the moon's smiling face and know they have a nightlight to guard them forever, said Mim. And for a moment the distant stars of his mother and father sparkled more brightly than ever before. Mim began to sing. It was an old song, a beloved song, and they all joined in. Night light, bright light, sweet dreams I bestow. Sleep tight all night, forever I will glow. Look at the big smiley face on the moon. The man in the moon knew that he could be a guardian of the children of Earth, just as Nightlight had been his guardian long ago. But he would need help. So he gathered everyone together. Now, my friends, he said, kneel and take this oath. It was much like the one Nightlight had taken long ago, and now it would be their own. We will watch over the children of Earth, guide them safely from the ways of harm, keep happy their hearts, brave their souls, and rosy their cheeks. We will guard with our lives their hopes and dreams, for they are all that we have, all that we are, and all that we will ever be. So began the Guardians of Childhood. And for the children of Earth, the night was never as dark again. And that was the end. I forget we've got these beautiful illustrations in the book as well. Right, so we have our roll on the wall to complete for one of the characters that we met today. So we've got Pitch was one of the characters, we've got Mim, you've got his mother and father, you've got Nightlight, so you've got lots of different characters that you could write about today. And if you get stuck at all, it's worth re-listening to the book, but just pinpointing on that one character that you want to look at today. Okay, so you will need to start off with hopefully a slightly better version of my cookie cutter shape. That's a second attempt, so don't panic if it's not a perfect shape. Okay, on the inside we write how that character feels about themselves and what they are like as a character. Okay, so if I chose to do mine on Mim, I'm going to write Mim down the bottom so I don't forget, and it's capital letters because each of those letters stands for something different. Okay, ooh, and if it's reversed on your screen you'll be able to see it as well. So Mim as a character, what is he like? What is he like as a character? He's kind, he's very generous, isn't he? So I'll get those words inside. Kind, generous. What else? He he has lots of friends, doesn't he? Yes, because he's got lots of friends who live with him on the moon. Friends. Want to make sure we spell that correctly. And what you're going to do is fill up the inside. Okay, Now on the outside of your cookie cutter shape, and I'm going to do it in a different colour pen just to make it a little bit more obvious, you are going to put how other people perceive them. So if you were doing a character like Pitch, he probably thinks he's he probably thinks he's doing the right thing by killing lots of people. But other people will perceive him, will think of him as a very different sort of character. So other people thinking about Mim, the children of Earth are probably quite confused, aren't they? Because they know they have a friend in the sky, so they're probably quite confused by the idea of Mim. So I'll write that around the outside. Children of Earth, capital E, are confused by him. It's helpful when you do the outside area to write in full sentences, because then I know who you're thinking about from the external view of that character. Okay, and then we'd write lots of different people's views, potentially. Maybe the moon mice or lunar moths have a different idea of what Mim is like as a person, but it's worth, if you get stuck, re-listen to the book, and like I say, you could use Pitch, you could write about Pitch, Mim, his parents. Nightlight's a really good one as well, because he changes quite a bit within the story as well. Okay, I will record on a separate recording Jack Frost for you to listen to as well, so if you want to pick a character from Jack Frost then you can, but it will be a separate recording just in case you don't want to. Okay, and I will see you for tomorrow's lesson later on. Okay, bye.